Brooke, welcome to the show, Brooke.
Thank you very much.
We have been chatting away, but welcome on, mate. And I'm really happy to have you here because I'll hit the mic as I do it. Um, I actually I was thinking how I got how I found out about you,
Yep.
and I think it was my sister tagged me in a news article, which I still have. It's just on my phone here, which is
Yep.
about you wrote a book about your son,
I
Ziggy.
did. Yep. Yep.
So maybe, Brooke, can you tell us a bit about, oh, yeah, if you can just give us a bit of an overview of you
Yeah.
and also tell us about Ziggy.
Yeah. Sure. So yeah, my name's Brooke. I'm from a small town, country town in South Australia, called Kimber, and we now have five kids. Max, my oldest, 15, nearly 16. Ellie, she's 13. Arlo's 11. Ziggy, who has a brain injury, he's 7, and now Miller, he's just a week or two old. So yeah, so that's us. And in terms of Ziggy, he had a cardiac arrest on day 2, when he was obviously day 2 birth, and yeah, unfortunately suffered a brain injury, a really severe one. And just yeah, I mean, it's not doesn't get much worse, I guess.
Mm.
He's non-verbal and needs 24/7 care. Yeah, but he's amazing. It was a real struggle for the first 2 years of his life, probably up and back. Well, we spent 3 4 months in hospital, and then up and back from hospital, and flying in and out, and all those kind of things. But it's probably the last, 3 or 4 years he's had really good health, and he's been able to. We're so grateful that in the school here, which is just an area school, so certainly not their expertise having special needs kids, but
Mm.
they've been able to accommodate him to go. So he goes on the bus with his sisters and was his brother, before his brother went away to boarding school.
Right.
So he goes there, and he's got two beautiful carers, Kirsty and Corinne. They're amazing. That they knew him right from the start. Ziggy's a pretty big part of the community. Everyone knows him, and everyone speaks to him and looks after him and helps us. Um, so yeah, that's pretty amazing, and they do a great job, and they just continually, well, they enhance his life for sure. They're both bubbly people and full of life, and yeah, we're very grateful for them. It was very very important for us to have someone we could trust with Ziggy. It's very difficult to feed him, and they've learned that, and just taken such a weight off of, especially my wife, to give her a break. She's the primary carer, I guess. I do what I can, but we run a business here, large farming business, so that takes a lot of my time up. So yeah,
I bet it does.
yeah,
All right. Brooke, thank you. Thanks for that, man, to give us
no
a
worries.
nice kind of really good overview there of you and your family and kind of
Hmm.
where Ziggy fits into this. Um, and it like how like um let's talk about kind of let's talk about Ziggy here for a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
because
sure.
um that uh, he came on the scene and he was he's the addition to the family.
Yeah.
And I think like I say in this article that I was that I got forwarded from my sister
Mm.
through Facebook um is that what I was like here's a it was an Australian article and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting, cool. It's an Aussie dad.
Yeah.
um because I try to speak to a lot of dads around the world here.
Oh
And
wow.
I've spoken to a couple of dads. I've spoken to now one, two, three. You're actually the fourth Australian dad. Um, and I was like, oh, but this is a little different. You had actually uh, written a book. This is why I was getting this link sent from my sister because you wrote a book about Ziggy.
Hmm.
And I'm interested. to kind of, I've actually ordered my book, as I think you know.
Ah,
I've ordered my
thank you
book,
very
and
much.
I'm just waiting for it to turn up.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
have one.
winging its
I've got
way.
one
So,
here in front of me. If you
oh yeah,
can
let's have a
sort of
look at this
see that,
because here it is.
that's the front cover, and yeah,
So it's
um,
called just like you, only a little bit different. Sorry, a
that's
little
right.
more different.
Only a
Sorry.
little more different. Yeah.
Um, what, where did the idea of that book?
Great,
Where did
great
it come from?
question. Yeah. Um, we were worried about Ziggy going to school. The book, when you get it, you understand that it's written to for his classmates, but definitely wasn't the aim of the book. It was more to educate the rest of the school. His classmates are just amazing. I'm not sure if it's coincidence that they're so amazing kids, or it's because it's a part to do with Ziggy and being different. I suspect it's a bit of both. Um, and so that they're just amazing. They don't care if Ziggy's different or he's just Ziggy to them. But so I wrote the book so the other kids wouldn't be scared of him. That I knew I had a boy at school who was severely disabled, and we didn't know we let her play with him, we let her talk to him, or we upset him if we were talking to him.
So
Yeah,
this is you growing up when
that's
you
when
were
I was
growing up,
growing up. Yeah, yeah.
right?
So, I just so many questions. Am I allowed to ask the question for starters? Is it going to offend people? All these things. So I just thought if I could write a book just to, to say, look, it's all right to ask a few questions to his brothers and sisters or his carers, or and he loves doing stuff just like you. Unfortunately, can't express them as much, and just little things like that. And then also wanted to. So that was the first book I wrote. That was just a little one I just did on a website, and just went
Oh,
in and read it to the school. So
okay.
and it was just so well received, and it's good to back up my story about the kids just being amazing in his class. I read it to them first. Really it was pointless because they were already all over Ziggy. They were amazing, but I did
Right.
open it up at the end, and I said, "Oh, look, do you guys get any questions about Ziggy?" And
Mm.
one little girl put her hand up and she said, "Oh, yeah, we really like your shoes. Where did you get them?" Like they just
Oh,
didn't care. They're just like, "Oh, whatever we
yeah.
know, like he's fine." Yeah, yeah. So then it suggested to me that perhaps I should publish it. So I changed a little bit and I really tried to make it so Ziggy's the main character in the book, but it's just open up to say, look, whether it's your religion or your sexuality, or you've got something simple like glasses, it's fine. It's great to be different, and try to embrace that, and probably have empathy for them as well, and how they're feeling, because they're different to I guess what people think are normal,
Mm.
and yeah, so just to open that up and just to go, hey, look, it's great. There's nothing wrong with being different. So yeah,
Yeah.
just treat them just the same as you'd like to be treated, even though they may not look or do things exactly the same as you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and yeah, they just
Well,
published it and I'm good.
wow. And you it's so funny because you're just like, yeah, I just published it. Like, but the work that goes into something like this to
Yeah.
actually from to get it onto the shelves so that I here in Japan can order this.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and other people who are listening who are like, hey, I want to get this, is I'm going
Yeah.
to put the links into the show notes and everything like
Oh,
that. So
thanks
it's
so
all going
much.
to be in there.
Yep.
And I can't wait to get my copy because I'm going to be putting it onto my Instagram and all that as well there
Oh,
and
thank
Facebook.
you.
Um, I I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like this is amazing. How like in writing this book and kind of doing this, do you think that has helped you, Brooke,
Mm, mm,
to essentially move through a process of kind of like acceptance and of where you are kind of with Ziggy? Like, has that kind of, do you think that has, because I, as with any, I think with a lot of, I talk to a lot of dads, and you've listened to a couple of episodes, as you said,
mm. I have.
is it, I talk to dads about how they have accepted the situation that they're in and the
Mm,
world that they're in, because um, we do live in a world and we have a child who needs extra help and
mm,
has disabilities or special needs or anything that is what we class as kind of what I class as non-typical. Is
Mm.
it is a different load for us um, as parents and as dads, right?
Yeah.
So in doing like this book, has it how has it changed you kind of doing this book? Has it kind of helped you, do
That's
you think?
that's a amazing question. I've never really thought about it until right now. So I guess some I've we went since we have had Ziggy, and don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love him to be completely able and not have a brain injury. But there's so many worse places we all could be,
Mhm.
I don't know how to express it exactly in words, but I'm really thankful for having Ziggy that has a brain injury. It's just been amazing. And like I said, don't get me wrong, I'd love him to not have it.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm
absolutely.
very very lucky to have him and have him in our lives. And while he's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
we're so lucky, and it's just opened up. I don't know. Just I don't. We haven't consciously gone down this path to maybe to talk about him and make him a statement or anything like that.
Mm,
But
mm,
it's just sort of eventuated.
mm.
So yeah, I guess it has helped us. It's given us a bit of purpose and just educate a few people that you know. I, that boy that I was telling you about that was at school, I was under the impression because he couldn't walk or do much talking and stuff like that. I was under the impression there was so many things wrong with him. Like must have had millions of things wrong with him. Well, it turns out he only had a brain injury. So the only thing that's wrong with Ziggy is his brain. So um, it's so there's nothing really to be worried about. Like I had no idea about that, and so yeah, and just so if I can tell people that kind of thing, and yeah, no, it's definitely you're right. It's definitely helped me for sure. Um, and yeah, made me probably more thankful to have him for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. And I really appreciate that and thank you for that because I think it is something that every all these situations that like you have found yourself and that I found myself and that my previous guests have found themselves in and other dads who are and mums who are listening is that while all these situations are different is that we are also um, kind of united in the world that we live in
yeah,
because we there are things that we struggle to do like typical things
mm,
that we struggle that we can't do um, and we live in a sometimes our anxiety level uh, is in a very different place to to other to other kids as well
mm.
to other parents as well um how
I've got another way I can explain
yeah yeah
the thankfulness I've got to have Ziggy,
yeah
and it's in a different way. But I was telling you earlier that my father passed away when he was 43,
mm,
and someone said to me, would you know would I rather a dad that lived till he was 85 and be lesser a dad and be not the person he was? And dad was an amazing man. And or would I rather my dad for 43 years and well, you can know what the answer was. I would much rather
mm.
my dad for 43 years. So therefore, who's the lucky one? Is the person that's got the dad that's a lesser person for 85, or is it me? Well, I'd say I'm the lucky one for sure. So
Yeah.
in essence, that's the way I feel about Ziggy. I'm very lucky to have him, and I wouldn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
wouldn't change it. You wouldn't change it for
I
the
wouldn't.
world.
No, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm very
A-
very lucky.
and that's think almost all parents would be um kind of just be like, yeah, absolutely, because it's hard to imagine um our lives not how they are, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Um uh, sometimes I'm just like, I can't. I'm just thinking now. I'm just thinking, could I imagine Jamie being a typical kid? I
yeah.
just cannot. I
Nah,
just can't even imagine this. Like
nah.
it's incomprehensible for me to even uh imagine that situation, it's such a, I've never thought about it actually until just now. Like,
Yeah.
um, but I think that what it allows me, that thing there, I think is interesting, because it kind of talks, it kind of dives into the acceptance of where the world that we are, and how we as dads, how we deal with this, and how we move through it. Because Ziggy, how old is Ziggy now?
He's 7,
He's 7 now.
and yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
right. And so it's been now, obviously, he had his cardiac arrest when he was 2 days old.
yep,
And that would have looked like it would have been a very difficult time, right? I'm not, it's like, I know I don't want to kind of go talk about these situations too much, but I
no,
think,
absolutely, it was, yeah,
yeah, and I think it, like, um that was when your world, I don't know whether you're familiar with the poem, which is called Welcome to Holland.
yeah, I have,
Um,
yeah, I've read that, yeah,
yeah. And that's kind of where our worlds kind of, where where my world kind of went a different way. I ended up, living in a, essentially, living in Holland.
yeah,
And that's kind of
absolutely,
where
yeah, yeah.
you went over to Holland. You and it and that can look really different for everyone, and how we deal with that as guys, who we can talk to, who we can share, these things. And I suppose, like, are you, and feel free not to, but how did you, can I just ask you, how did you kind of get through that, Brooke? If you can,
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know. I guess when my father passed away, I learned a lot of stuff. Um, so when a tragedy happens like that, or Ziggy has a brain injury, when we were told that day, it doesn't get any, well, personally, when I told my dad died, it doesn't get any worse. For me, it's never got any worse from that moment. So therefore, everything. I mean, if you jump ahead and you go, oh, how's it going to look? Where are we going to sleep? Where are we going to live? Whatever. That stuff works itself out over time. That doesn't happen quickly, and you can work through that. Well, I feel like I can. Um, so so therefore, once something like that happened, I mean, the worst is behind us.
mm,
And we had a tough road ahead, no doubt. But you're not going to get any worse news than that.
yeah,
So that was after. Sorry, that was after the 7 days. That it was touch and go for 7 days. Every day we didn't
right,
know whether we were going to have him, and so that was probably toughest 7 days of our life.
yeah,
So I don't know how I pushed forward, or we pushed forward. My wife's amazing. Yeah, she deserves all the accolades she gets, and probably doesn't get enough. But she really is. She's amazing.
yeah.
Um, while I'm the one publishing this book, she's the one doing all the hard work for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Just
Well, you gotta take some credit here,
uh,
Brooke. You gotta, like, it's I'm very sure that you're a massive part of kind of, you know how things are going to move forward. And I think, I do think that we as dads, we tend to kind of, we don't tell ourselves that we're actually been doing we're doing all right. Like, we're actually,
mm, mm.
no, I sometimes think
we
so. I'm like,
we discussed that the other day, didn't we? I mean,
yeah,
I'm terrible, and that's the Aussie bloke. I'm terrible at saying I'm good at anything, or
mm,
I'm doing really well at that, or anything like that. I don't know. We did discuss that. I mean, I'm not bad at probably anything. I'm not super talented at anything. I'd say I'm average at a lot of stuff. The one thing I do feel is I've developed into being above average, as being a dad for my kids.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I'm certainly not saying I'm perfect, and I've got a long way to go, but that's something that I do feel a lot of inner confidence that I am a good dad.
yeah,
When I don't really feel it for a lot of other things.
Can you tell us
yeah,
about that? How does that feel for you, and how does that? Because
yeah,
it's an interesting thing, and I think, and I love it so much because a lot of like dads would be like, and mums would be like, what does he mean, and how does that really
mm,
kind of play out? Like, yeah,
yeah. I don't. That's the the short answer to that is I don't know how I've got it. Because I was I've been a footballer and a shearer and a farmer, a lot of different things. And while I've been good at them, no one would say was great at any of them. And I don't have and it's interesting that when I was a shearer, I'd shear away and I was shearing with a good shearer, and then I'd go shear with someone else and hearing this other guy's really good, and I'd end up beating him, and it'd be like, well, how's that happen? But because I didn't have the inner confidence to think that I was better than anyone else. I always thought I was, you know, and
so
and the only thing,
doing you basically.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was just doing me, and then and I just thought, oh, I'm not a very good shearer. Like my friend he's elite, and then when I go shear with someone else, well, I was actually not too far behind him, and it turns out I was actually pretty good. But I never ever thought that,
Yeah,
to be honest, I still don't. It's just um, and I'm not saying I'm not elite at all, but my friend was, and I guess I got drug along with him. Um, but in terms of how I have inner confidence, which I don't think I can't come up with anything else that I've got that I have inner confidence about besides being a dad. I don't know how I've become of that, but I'm really comfortable with that. I'm certainly trying to learn every day, and I do a lot of reading and talking to different people, and look, I'm sorry if I keep
no.
using shearing as an example, but it does
Well, that's what you
teaches a
do,
lot
mate. I mean,
about.
like it's
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's exactly
but
what you do, mate.
but it has taught me a lot. And so my friend said, look, if you want to become the best shearer in the world, for example, do you go hang around with people only learning, or do you go hang around with elite shearers? Well, you'd go hang around with elite shearers. So therefore, if I want to become a good dad and a better person, I've got to try actively hang around those kind of people. Very difficult to do, but
Yeah,
yeah,
let's. Can I talk about that then? Actually, that's a
yeah,
good transition because
yeah,
dads. What does your dad network look like for
yeah.
you?
Uh, I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but one guy I've always, he's like my older brother, I guess. One guy that I've always, had him up in spotlights is his name's Daryl, and yeah, he's an amazing dad, and he probably doesn't even know I look at what he does, and I just try to figure out how he's become such a great person, and I guess that's what I've done. I've just sort of, and he's not the only one. Don't worry, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
others. Another close friend of mine, he's really good at teaching his son. It happens to
Mm,
be Mac's best friend. He's really good at teaching his son. And I thought, I should teach him a bit more stuff rather than him just learning what I do. So
mm.
just all these little things, and just try to put them together and do the best we can. I guess that's all we do as dads, isn't it? Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel as though when I was younger, I probably wasn't the greatest dad because we were still growing up. We're still kids. Cody and
Well,
I were
you had your
21,
first
and
when you were 21. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
give
yeah,
yourself you cut yourself some slack a little bit on
yeah.
that one. Like,
Yeah, yes, but so yeah, and I guess it didn't matter too much when he was really young. We were, he wasn't really picking up exactly what we're doing, and the older I've got, the more I've just gone down the path of trying to learn and become, the best person we can be for others, and
mm.
um, yeah. Yeah, you ask some great questions, and they're very difficult for me to answer because I probably yeah yeah
They are tricky to answer, and
yeah.
often we kind of um
I guess I do want to emphasize that I don't think I've got it figured out at all. But I do feel as though I'm better than I was before, and that's all
mm,
you can do, isn't it? You can only be
yeah,
like I'm not as good as dad as I believe I'm not as good as dad as, like I said, with Daryl or anyone that I think's a great person, father.
yeah,
But if I can be better than I can be, well, if I can keep doing that, and just continually doing that, well, that's going to be good for my kids, hopefully.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It absolutely is. And being like um has do you feel that like with Ziggy and how Ziggy is, has that, do you think it's kind of accelerated the how well, I don't know if accelerated is the right word to use here, but has it kind of helped you be an even better dad? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Yep. I see what my other kids do with him, and it just fills me with joy, and I feel I've got to give them something back for what they do for us. Yeah, no, Ziggy's definitely made me a better person, much more caring, and yeah, yeah, he's definitely made his siblings, sorry, better people. They're very caring, and I mean, while they're definitely not perfect either, but I feel as though definitely they're better people because of Ziggy.
Mm,
And whether that's true, I don't know, but
yeah.
I feel as though that's the case. Yeah.
Um. Thank you for that. Thanks, man.
No, no worries.
Um. The what's So I'm just looking at my questions here.
Yeah, yeah.
With some of them we kind of already
Yeah,
dived
and I'm
into.
probably jumping around, sorry.
No, oh no, this is like but this is how it is because when we
Yeah.
have these conversations, I feel it's very very difficult to just go from A to Z, right?
Oh, definitely.
Because our world is not A to Z.
No.
Um, and so we kind of jump from F to A to Z to B to P, like we're all over the place. We just it's just like that. And so I think this is when I have these conversations with dads, is that like you know that plays out um in how we talk about it, because it's a real thing. We are um you know dads can feel some dads can feel um like I did, feel really alone
Yeah.
in in being either um like the primary carer or the care, like um helping out with the care of our children. um and it can be really tricky for us because uh I feel that um mums have that kind of nurturing side.
Mm.
Perhaps they come with that because they spend 9 months with the child inside them, and I think
Yeah.
that and I never really thought about this until kind of recently, um is that that nurturing side really starts from that point. And
Definitely.
and as dads, we don't have that. We're not carrying that child around for us for 9 months, right? So
Yeah.
we are, when that baby comes out, we can see it there. There it is. It's we can see the the scans, and our wives are getting bigger, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And when the baby comes out, it's almost like boom, like there it is, our world. Um, it it changes for us as men, right? We go from
Yeah, it
imagine.
definitely does. I know when I was when we had first had Mac, and like I was 21. I know something hit me there one day that I was like, wow, this is my responsibility now. I was a bit overwhelmed, I guess.
Yeah.
How am I going to teach him to be a man, a boy, how am I going to do this? And it was a bit overwhelming for starters.
Yeah.
And probably going through you start thinking, am I good enough? Am I going to be a good enough person? All these kind of things.
Mm.
Have I got enough money? Or what, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I guess the reality is that they just want you. They just want their dad. They don't want someone else's dad. They don't want you to be anybody else. They just want you to be you.
Yeah.
And if I can keep trying to be as a better person, well, that's going to benefit them. Or be a better version of myself. That's going to
Mm.
benefit them too. But yeah, I definitely did feel that. I'm not sure if anyone else ever felt that, but yeah, the first time I had my first son, I was like, wow, this is on me now, and yeah, it turns out it was all fine, but it was a bit overwhelming for starters.
But it is, and I think that's kind of like, yeah, it's like that. I had a friend of mine tell me, a good friend of mine, um, and he said to me that when he first had his child, um, is that he remembered, um, after listening to one of my episodes, is he said, "Oh, you know what?" He goes, "I remember like coming back after, like they had the baby in the hospital, and then he went home, and he said he remembers like having like this kind of like panic attack,
Mm.
just like it was just like holy shit, like you know, I'm a dad now, so how the
Mm.
hell is this gonna what's this gonna look like?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and where how do I do this?
yeah, yeah,
How do I and and that and it's a very real thing. Like that's a real thing.
most
What we
absolutely. Most dads are still trying to figure out how to look after themselves, let alone when they're given
yeah,
they get have
exactly.
another baby, and you're like, oh my god, I can't really. I'm still struggling myself, let alone to figure life out. But yeah,
That's the thing.
it just I think it helps. To be honest,
Yeah,
it helps you become a better person, and yeah, it's great.
yeah, it is. How do you in going back to like your kind of network of dads and
Yeah.
dads that do you have any dads that are like that have children that you know have disabilities or need special needs or and that do you have a network around you?
Oh, we've got an amazing network of
Right.
friends. They are absolutely amazing. To your question, do we have many dads, especially? Not many, no. None that I would really speak to closely.
Mm.
Um, but I don't know, just and that's it was a bit of a byproduct for the book, but it was also a
Mm.
bit of an aim that I wanted to thank all my friends and community and people around us that help us with Ziggy. I said saying there, you know, from his carers right down to some person that's just opened the door for us when we're walking through a door. You
Mm.
know, we thank you so much. And it did not to give too much away about the book, but it does saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and it does.
Yeah.
You know, it's not up to it's not just up to you and I. And you know, I've always been conscious who our kids spend so much time around, and because it's going to rub on off of them whether you like it or not. So um, yeah.
I'm glad you've said that actually because it does it takes a village to raise a child and I think that's um that can look that is so important because it and that comes through inclusion. I feel
Mm,
that's a big part
mm,
of inclusion, right?
yeah.
Um, what is that? What is that? How does inclusion look like for you with Ziggy in
Mm.
school? Like what? You just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Probably in our community is a good example. Ziggy does look a little bit different. You know, you can definitely tell by looking at him that he's got a brain injury. And we go out, we spend a lot, we're quite social people, and kids do a lot of sport and stuff. So we spend a lot of time throughout our community and wider community, I suppose, you know, sport and all that sort of stuff. But people already know Ziggy and they know who he is.
Mm,
And, you know, whether we're close to them, they still know who he is.
yeah.
And we go away, you know, to a city or something and you get, you know, people look at you a bit funny and you're like, I wonder what they're looking at. And because no one looks at us any different in our community or our friend
Right.
base or anything like that, they just know that, you know, that's Brooke and that's Ziggy and that's
Just
Cody and that's Ziggy and they don't. Yeah. Well, so and it's not that people's fault staring at us at all. That's quite natural to do it. But you sort of just like, oh, what are they looking at?
mm,
Oh, that's right. Oh, Ziggy probably does look a bit different. Like, whereas he's just himself to
he's
all the
just
people
himself.
around. Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
but like I said, when I talk about my community, I'm not talking. So our community in Kimmy is magnificent, but also talking about my friend base, family base, all of
Mm,
that. Like we've got a really close friend base. I've got several guys I call my best mate.
yeah.
You know, probably 10 or 15 of them to be honest. Um, you know, well, I've got one or two that I'd say that are my best mate, but there's other guys I'm just really close with and their families
Yeah.
and And they just help us so much,
Yeah.
whether they know it or not. And I suspect most of them don't know
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's good to hear, though. That's really good to hear because I think it's
Mm.
um. So you've got dads who understand where you are in a
Yeah,
way.
definitely. Yeah, for sure. And like while we've got I guess for want of a better word, extreme case, other people have got other things they're dealing with too. Like
Mm,
theirs might not be quite as easy to see and diagnose as
mm,
they've still got a lot of things they're dealing with. And while Ziggy's got a brain injury, another kid might have a lot of other issues, and the dads might be going through other stuff as well. Like, so I guess they probably empathize with that. Like, um, yeah,
mm,
it's not easy for them either. Like, while they might have a completely able kid that's talented or you know whatever they are,
mm.
it's still not easy, is it? Like, it's still not
No,
easy
it's
being a
not.
dad. Mm,
And that's a very valid point because
mm.
um, I s- I suppose the difference is, Brooke, is that we um I think it depends kind of how we are, kind of what's around us an environmental aspect, like um because I I do think that there are a lot of dads out there who, you know, who feel whatever the situation is with their children is that they
Mm,
feel very alone
mm.
in their world, and that's how, because I know that because it's how I felt.
Yeah, yeah.
um and and so that's kind of why I do the podcast, because I feel that we hearing journeys from different dads,
Mm,
like yourself, about how what's going on in their world, how they are traveling,
mm.
and like the challenges that they face and how they kind of get through those. And I I
Yeah,
think
and I do thank you for doing that. Like, it's not something that we don't males don't talk about much. And like I said, especially the Aussie bloke,
mm,
girls are much better at speaking about their feelings and what they're struggling with. And yeah, you opening up
why is that though?
other
Why do
things.
we do this? Let's talk about that, because I think
Yeah.
why do we, why can't we be bloody real
Mm,
and with a, and talk about the shit that really matters to us? Because why do you, what's your kind of, and there's no right or wrong answer with this, mate,
mm.
because it is um I'm interested to hear about, like, why
I
you
wish.
think that
Yeah,
as men, as dads, we keep that shit in, and
yeah. I wish I knew the answer.
that shit can
Steve, I
can
really.
kill us, mate. It can
Mm,
absolutely kill us, and
I
it
really.
almost killed me.
Yeah, I really wish I knew the answer. Like, for example, if you've broken your arm in a couple of weeks' time or 3 weeks' time when I see you, I'll be asking how your arm is. But if
Mm,
you're struggling and I speak to you in 3 weeks' time, it's probably not the first thing I ask you. It's not as easy to ask you, is it? Well,
mm,
that's not right. It's not. Yeah, it's a very hard direct question to ask. Sometimes you can offend people by asking it as well, and but then others just yawn for it, and you don't know.
mm,
Um, I definitely don't know the answer to that, and I wish I did. And if we can all, and we all say when we're not going well. My best, when I say I had a lot of best friends, my best friend I did ring, and he went through a lot of it with me when we were going through the tough time. His name's Reese, um, and I look, I felt really bad by telling him it all. Like, it was really emotional. Every day was, oh, he's not going real well here, and that people are testing him for this, and there's bloody heap of doctors coming in, and
mm,
it was a really tough time. And he went, like I said, whether he knows it or not, he went through it with me, and I apologized to him one day, and I said, look, I'm really sorry, lug all this on you. And he said, what do you mean? He said, oh, geez, we've been through 1,000 or 2,000 good times. What's wrong with going through one bad one? Surely I'm allowed to do that with you. And that was like just he didn't mind, and he felt like he was helping, and I didn't realize that, and I was feeling so guilty by telling him all this, and probably bringing him down a bit. He's going to have a tougher day thinking about all the stuff that's going on. He was like, no, this is fine. 1 in 1,000. I'm more than happy with those odds. He said.
That's great.
Hmm.
So this is your mate Reese, and so he,
Yeah.
What? Can I dissect it just a little bit? Because I think that you picked up the phone or you went over, and how that kind of played out is that Reese was one of the guys that you were like, I can be real with the shit that was going on in your world at that time, because that your wife is dealing with it as well. Your kids dealing with it, and when you're at home and you're trying to put on the brave face, because that's what we do as parents, is we put on this big brave face that everything is okay.
Yep.
When actually it's not. But you went and like you made a conscious decision to kind of talk to him.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, him and one other guy. It was suggested to me that it'll just wear. Well, we were obviously concentrating 100% on Ziggy at that time, and it'll wear you down if you respond to all the messages, contact everyone, let them know what's going on, all these things. So it suggested to me to just tell your 2 close friends or 3 close, whatever, and they're in different circles. Tell them what's going on, and then they can actively let everyone else know. And that took a lot of weight off of us to, therefore people weren't just going, they did, especially other friends, they didn't know whether to ring you or to not ring you or anything. So that was probably why that decision was made to sort of, right. Oh, and also we're good mates, we've been through a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good. That's good to hear. If you could go back to like to day one and you would have kind of, would there be an advice that you would give yourself, kind of whisper into your ear, like if you were to go back?
Oh, it's just the one that I was saying to you before. Like when something happens, it doesn't get any worse from then on. You can you're working from there forward. For example, when my dad passed away, I was told that, right, it's you can get overwhelmed and you can go, how's all this going to look? How am I going to take over the farm? How am I going to do this or whatever I was studying at the time? But everything seems to work itself a lot easier than you've been told the worst right then and there. So, I guess I'd say, look, I don't know what I'd say to myself, but unfortunately you've been through the worst because you've got the worst news. So and everything else will work itself out. Don't get too stressed about how the rest of your life's going to look, because you've got the rest of your life to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a bit like it's, we sometimes think it's, one of my previous guests, he had said like, it's not a race,
No.
we're in a marathon. We're gonna work through this. It's a, and I think that's actually always a good thing to remind ourselves. We don't, we're not trying to get. There's no, the finish line. We're not going to get to that 100-meter mark or whatever it is. It's a marathon. We're in this. We're going to pace ourselves.
Yeah.
How do we do that? And how do you do that? How do you do that, mate? Like, Brooke, what's for you to be as grounded and to be the best dad, the best kind of in a good mental space, because you've got the farm, you're doing the sharing, you're doing all these things, looking after your kids, being the dad, want to be the best dad you're going to be. How? Because that's all going out of you, right? That's all, Brooke. That's like putting everything out. But what about filling up your own cup? What do you do? How do you do it? Do you do it? And let's be honest about it, because like, this is where it's at. Because I think that a lot of us, we don't do this enough. And we have to push ourselves to do this, right? Because we feel guilty about filling up our own cup as well, which we should.
Yeah, I've been asked that question once before, and I don't mind sharing it with you. I listened to Mike Hussey, actually, the cricketer, who's obviously, and he said that every time he bat well, or when he bat badly, he'd write down what he was feeling, what he's thinking, what he did before, ate, all these different things. And he said he did it over a long period of time. And then by the time he got to play for Australia, he had this blueprint of how Mike Hussey could be the best batsman and what things to do. Like, it was like a cheat sheet, really. So I was like, well, I don't know. And it just a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, why don't I do that for life? Like, so for example, when Brook is best, what are you doing? What are you eating? What are you doing? Who are you spending time with? How does that look? And when Brook's not feeling that good, what are you doing? What are you eating? What are you drinking? I don't know, who are you spending time with? All these different things. So, and I was like, well, then, because there's a time that I'm going to need that, and it has been. I'm just struggling a little bit here, or I'm a bit tired here, or I'm not feeling that great. Oh, hang on, I haven't been. I didn't realize I've been drinking a bit too much, or I've been eating wrong. I don't know. I don't even. There's all different things I've got to list, and your list will be way different than mine.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're all personal, and I love it because it's really personal, right? It's really about what you're doing to yourself in your world, right?
Because if you followed my sheet, it would be with no correlation,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So just how does it look when I'm at my best and when I'm at my worst? And I just got a few, I don't know, there might be 10 dot points that I just look back and go, oh, hang on, I didn't got that. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't exercising enough, or I was doing too much exercise, or Anyway, certainly haven't got that perfect, but I figure every year or so it's going to get more of a cheat sheet and hopefully progress into something that I maybe can show someone one day. But like I said, it's probably not much good to anyone else. It's just good for me. Yeah.
I think that we, that's a great idea, because I think, there might be, a guy listening and thinking, actually, I quite like that idea. Like, just how often do you kind of add to this list?
No, not very often. Right. Only when I'm really good or really bad, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you put in like, okay, you kind of analyze what's going on in your world, what you're doing yourself, what you're eating, like what's kind of the atmospheric pressures on yourself. It could be like, like what's happening at that time, I guess. Is that?
Yeah. Well, because I'm a farmer, also, like, the weather plays a big part in how our lives are. Like, last year we had a magnificent year, just because it just rained all the time. So therefore that adds the extra complexity in there that you can feel good if it's rained a lot, or if you can feel bad when it's rained a lot. But at the end of the day, the weather's, I can't control that at all.
Yeah, it's totally out of your hands.
It's totally out of my hands. So yeah, I'd let that one go. But yeah, it's still not easy. Don't worry when there's a drought, which we're prone to here.
Yeah.
It's definitely difficult.
What can you share with us? Like, I share on here kind of, I've been thinking the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I mean, I need to go to my cafe, which is in town, and I just want to go down to my cafe and sit there and have a bloody coffee. It's all I want to do. And trying to, make that happen. I haven't been there for probably close to, it's going to be 6 months maybe now. And I just want to make this happen.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's other things going on in my world that's just
it's
getting pushed to the side.
We all get busy, don't we?
We do. And we're all looking after everyone else. But that, I really want to do it. I really want to make it happen, because it's and I have to I feel like I force myself. I need to force myself to do this.
Yeah. And probably at the expense of something else, not spending time with your wife and kids.
That's exactly right.
I struggle with that a lot, because I'm a mad exerciser. I do a lot of different stuff, and for me, it's like, well, how can you go? Can you warrant going off for a run for an hour, or going to the gym for an hour, or when you should be home with your kids and your wife? And
guilt.
There's a bit of guilt about it, and discussing with my wife is just amazing. It never ever holds me back. And the way we've come to grips with it was like, well, if I don't do that, I won't be the. Oh, you probably won't. If I didn't exercise, you probably don't want me around. You probably don't want that, Brooke. So
Yeah.
if therefore that hour that you give me to go do something that I want to do, like you said, your cafe or you catch up with your friends or you whatever you do,
Yeah.
I'm better and more conscious, I suppose, when I'm around the kids and a much happier person. So
Yeah. Well, that's good.
that's
That's really good to hear.
whether that's me talking in myself into letting myself do stuff like that, I don't know. But
But no, you start you start to kind of question yourself whether actually like whether it's
well,
really
well, you can
what
definitely do too much of your own stuff, can't you? For sure. Like I could go, oh, I've got to go see my friends so I can be a better person. You know, three times a weekend or whatever. But yeah,
but it's always um it's got to work both it needs to work both ways as well because it's got to
yeah,
work from um you know allowing yourself to do that but also and not feeling guilty doing this is something that we all need to like try and work on that and not
mm,
feel guilty for going out and having a coffee going out and going to the
mm,
movies on my own which I fucking want to do.
yeah,
I can't do it at the moment. And I love doing this, by the way.
great,
Um, but it's also really important that the wife, the partner, um, is is allowed and made to feel that they also can do this without
yeah,
feeling bad for going out, because
yeah,
it is so important, right?
mm,
It's not all about us as dads. There's other,
no,
there's the wives who are, you know, well, put it this way, my wife looks after me, because I need all the help I can get. So,
yeah,
everything like I'm somewhat, inept at uh, the language of this country. So, so often that I'm calling on my wife to help me, and
mm,
she helps the kids, she helps the running of this business. So, you know, she doesn't look after herself, right?
mm, mm,
So it's like while I also struggle with trying to look after myself, she
mm.
also struggles to look after herself.
Yeah, yeah. No, I would definitely have that with my wife. She's so dedicated to be the mother,
Yeah,
and she won't do something for herself, and I'll probably got to get a lot better at that as making her do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's it's yeah, and it looks different for every family, right? Um,
yep,
if I said to if I said to Junko, I said, why don't you go out and have dinner tonight with your friends? She'd be like, no, 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 no. Like it's got to be on. She
yeah,
has to be the one who kind of facilitates it or suggests it. Like it can't come from me. It's
yeah,
like if she said to me, this is with empathy. If she said to me like, "Hey, you should go out with your friend tonight," I'm like,
yeah,
wow, like I that hasn't kind of really come into my headspace yet. I was thinking
yeah,
of something totally different, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, so it's got to be, but we got to create that space, haven't we?
yeah,
Of like that we can ask for this and be like,
mm,
hey, listen, can I just go out and have a beer or um, go out and have a dinner on my own?
mm,
Um, you know, and that is healthy. It's very
mm,
healthy because we need this. We need to be doing that.
yeah.
Um,
I've been lucky enough in the last, uh, I guess I don't know how many years, but all the stuff that I enjoy, my son enjoys. So like Mac, so we do a lot of stuff together. Like, I love going for a kick of the footy, so we just go do that. I guess people would think we're just down there training or whatever. We're not. We're down there having fun. That's nothing. We just love it.
That's cool.
We might just go see a friend and he'll come with me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I guess I'm very lucky in that aspect. He's much like me, but whereas if the girls that are come, well, maybe they wouldn't like doing what I'm doing. They probably don't want to go for a kick of the footy, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. So
Oh,
all
cool.
different.
And absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, what does Ziggy love? Like, what kind of things?
Yeah.
What does he really just? What ticks a box for him or some boxes?
Yeah. Oh, he loves his school friends for sure. If I talk for you to see his face when I talk about school, you're probably not going to pick up anything different. But for me, when I'm talking about school and his friends, he definitely his eyes light up.
Yeah.
Or his in his own way. Yeah, he just loves being with his siblings, no doubt about
Yeah.
that. He loves swimming.
Oh,
He loves doing that.
fantastic.
Yeah, he's pretty
That's
hypersensitive
great.
to water, so it's got to be the right temperature and all the
Right.
things got to be right. But no, he loves that. Oh,
How does he, sorry,
yeah,
Brooke, how
sure.
does he, like, what's the communication look like? How does that work with you guys?
Mm.
Um, can you, I'm really interested. Can you
Yeah,
share with
yeah,
us how
yeah.
that works?
So he smiles and he'll do happy noises for sure. So you know when he's happy. When he's not happy, he's quite a strong boy and he'll kick up.
Right,
So
right, right.
you know when he's grumpy. That's pretty easy. He doesn't, I wouldn't say cries. Very rarely, unless he's hurt himself somehow.
Yeah.
But that's rare. Nah, but yeah, you'll definitely be able to tell when he's really happy and when he's really grumpy. Probably
Mm,
the in betweens when it comes down to the people that are around him most.
yeah.
They'll be able to pick that up. But yeah, different for sure. Whereas you and I, we can sort of tell when we're sort of happy or we're a little bit happy. Whereas for the
Yeah.
untrained eye, you probably couldn't pick that up. Yeah,
Yeah. That's right.
yeah, it's different.
It's absolutely different.
Mm,
Um, and I think this is kind of interesting because I was doing a presentation for a JICA seminar
mm,
in Japan here, and basically I've kind of got to know a family, and they have a son. I think he's in high school now, but he doesn't move at all. The only thing that moves is his eyes,
mm,
and so he communicates by he blink, he blinks if it's a yes.
yeah.
Um, and he's
Yeah,
just
that's
like,
something we're sort of trying to get to to stage like that because we can't
right,
necessarily get a yes or no out of him.
yeah,
We just
right,
sort of
right.
just sense it, I guess.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard.
mm,
It makes it very
mm,
hard, doesn't it? Because you're
yeah,
like, well, what you trying to, you want to do the right thing. You want to,
mm,
does he want this? Does he need that?
mm,
Those are real, like, huge challenges, I guess, aren't they? Because you just, even for, like, with Jamie, sometimes I don't know if he wants
mm.
it, needs it, if he is in pain, if he's
Yeah.
feeling sick. Like, we kind of
That's the
forget that.
biggest challenge for us as as parents and
Mm,
is definitely knowing when what's wrong with him.
yeah.
He might be in a lot of pain, and it could be his leg that needs rubbing, or it might be his tooth, or it could be not much.
Mm,
And that's hard because I look in his eyes and I want to really help him,
yeah.
and take that pain away, or do what I can to help him, and he can't tell me what exactly it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's definitely difficult for Cody and I.
Yeah.
But you just once again, you just do your best and yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's kind of, when someone says to you, like, how do you do it, man? You're like,
Mm,
we just do it. Like,
mm,
isn't it?
mm. Yeah,
There's, and we just, how do you know if he wants this or that? Well,
yeah.
we don't know. Actually, we're still trying to find out.
Yeah, that's right. That's the short answer, isn't it? We don't know. Yeah, yeah,
um, all right.
yeah.
Um, let's you're out on the farm a lot, and
Yep.
you've talked about this. I think on the phone, you said you listen to. Sometimes there's no coverage out on the farm,
Mm.
and so you download. I think you said you download some podcasts. And you listen to it out on the.
Mm.
Is it a tractor you ride? I guess
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. Mainly tractors or
okay.
sprayers or whatever. Yeah, they
Right.
spend a lot of time in that.
Um, so a very outdoor job,
Yep, yep.
and so you does music. How does music look like for you? What is it? What kind of part does that play in your world and your for you?
It plays a pretty big part. I do play a fair bit of music myself.
Oh,
Um,
right.
yeah,
You
but
play music yourself.
yeah, as a very amateurish.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, a friend of mine's a brilliant musician, so I just play with him a bit. I don't. While we don't play very often, it's given me a lot of appreciation for music. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
but would I listen to it on the tractor? I guess is what you're asking. Probably not a lot. No, it's a bit weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 10% of the time I'd be listening to music.
Okay.
The rest of the time I'd be listen to something that's just easy to listen to, sort of podcast
Right.
but then there'll be also 20% of the time where it'll be in depth and something that I can learn from and hopefully become better. Yeah. Yeah, I do want to stress that I'm not perfect at all. Trust me, and I'm far from it. All I'm trying to do is just be better. Yeah, and hopefully that's happening. I'm not sure.
Well, that's all. That's what we can do, and I think we, you know, being always learning,
Yeah,
always trying to be better as a individual, but also knowing that I am. It took me a long time to understand this actually,
mm,
to be enough as to who I am.
hmm,
And that some people are like, well, that doesn't make sense because you're always trying to be better, but also you're
mm,
enough. How the
mm,
frick does that kind of like
mm,
piece together? And I just want to kind of maybe I can just talk about this because I think it's maybe it's a good place because I feel that I'm very like I don't need to be anything that I don't need to be.
yeah,
Um, from I can be authentic me as to who I am and be me and be honest with me. That's
yeah,
me as to being me being enough. I don't need to try and if I don't have the answer, I don't have the answer. Like I don't need
yeah,
to bullshit and say, actually, oh yeah, yeah, or like pretending all that shit. No, no. I'm like, you know what? I don't know the answer actually. I don't know. I I run a business, but I don't know the answer. And I don't have the
yeah,
answer to that. I'm really sorry, but can you help me out? Like
yeah.
that shit, that means that I'm enough. I can always keep on learning. So I'm like, yep, can you help me out with this? Right. And so
I
this is
think
the
I know what you're
difference.
saying. Yeah, that you're saying that you don't have to be anybody. You don't have to be anybody else besides yourself.
Exactly.
Um, and I think everyone you're so much better person if you're just trying to be yourself and not, like you
Yeah.
say, bullshit your way through it and be somebody else.
It's hard to bullshit your way through it because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just like,
no,
because then people are like, oh, so he actually has all the answers. No, I don't have all the answers.
no, no.
But, and this is where men typically um, feel like we have to have all the answers as well. We kind
Mm,
of through socialization as we feel like this we men are we create that image of like, oh, we got it, we know we need to know it, we need to know this, um, and it's like, and that then kind of falls on to onto our kids as well, right? So
mm,
I'm like, you know what? No, I don't have the answers, and I'm just I've got to a point. It's taken me over 40 years to learn this. Um,
yeah,
and it's just like now I'm like, okay, I'll just keep on learning and trying to and be a better person and be more you know more true to myself and that will then allow me to be really honest with people around me, because
yeah,
if I can't do that, like, then what hope have I got? Because um it is the backbone. I feel it's like the backbone of giving yourself some humanity.
mm, for
um
sure.
so
I don't know
it's
what point it was for me that where I decided just to be myself, and that's okay to just be myself. I don't have to be, I don't know, what I what everyone perceived me to be or anything like that. I just be myself, and like I said to you earlier, it's just like a weight off your shoulders once you just go,
it is,
it's
isn't it?
okay to be myself. And while I'm far from perfect, it's still all right to be not perfect as well.
Mm.
Like it's okay to be who I am, and while I'm trying to get better at all those things I'm not great at, it's still okay to be you.
Yeah. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to, and
Mm,
it's
it
like,
is, yeah,
and putting your hands up and saying I was wrong. Like, I'm sorry,
yeah,
man. I got it wrong, and that, like, owning it, right? That is massive because it's,
yeah,
and then I replicate that to my kids when I remember to do this, because I have to be like, no, I gotta, like, if I'm wrong to my kids, I'm like, I used to not say, sorry, Josh, I got it wrong. I'd keep it inside and be like, no, that's a sign of weakness.
yeah,
And now I'm like, I catch myself and I'm like, no, like I need to own that, and I need to apologize to him because for whatever reason it was that, I got it wrong. I misunderstood the situation.
yeah,
And I'm sorry for getting angry. Yeah, sorry, mate. No excuse. And
yeah,
like, and that's owning it, and it's and it's so it's very liberating.
Yeah.
Because you're not kind of, again, it's just not, you're not kind of holding it all in there, like that you've screwed up, but you're not going to tell anyone you screwed up. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
year after year after year, 40 odd years of doing that, it becomes really heavy.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Oh man. Okay. So I have a we've gone off topic a bit there, but that's okay because we started talking about kind of music and podcasts. So
sorry. Yeah.
that's all right. That's all right. So, but you do listen to, you said about 10% of the time you listen to music. What is a track, 2 tracks, if you can give me 2 tracks, if one's okay, that you love, a track that you be like, you just, you want to just get on the groove with a track. Maybe it's a song that actually the family loves, or it's you love. I don't know. It's going to go onto our playlist. We have a dad's playlist that we put it on Spotify.
There you go.
It's very broad. There's some interesting songs on there.
Yeah. Well, definitely one that I try to play every Christmas just to remind my family of my dad. And so it's Paul Kelly, How to Make Gravy. Just about missing someone on Christmas Day, and it's all right. So yeah, that's definitely my go-to song. I play a lot of Paul Kelly songs. He's a deep thinker and a wonderful songwriter. So
I've just tried to play the song, right?
Yeah.
And my wife is sitting in another room over there, and she's hijacked my Spotify.
Yes, that happens all the time.
And I've just hit play, and it's played that song on her earphones.
Oh yeah. She may not be right down her alley. I'm not sure, but that's one of my favourite songs. And I don't know. I'm like I say, I'm probably the only person I think that's ever been to a Keith Urban concert and an Eminem concert in the same year.
Wow.
So I just love musicians really.
That's awesome.
At the moment I love Luke Bryan. Something in the Orange is there's probably another favourite song.
Hang on. Let me Luke Bryan, Something Orange, is that right?
Something in the Orange, yeah.
Oh, Something in the Orange, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
We just and here we go. I got it.
He's the same thing. He's a brilliant songwriter and sings with a lot of passion in their voice. I guess I'm attracted to people like that really believe in what they're saying and completely opposite. But Eminem's the same, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's sometimes that kind of comes through on my playlist on Spotify, and like the old Eminem, like those are great songs. I love those songs.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we've got 2 songs here. I'm going to throw those onto the dad vibes playlist.
Dad vibes.
There are some very interesting songs
on
there.
I'll look that up, and that'll get me through a bit of time on the tractor. That'll be great.
Yeah, there is a range. I think just going to scroll down here. Tool. I'm just going to read a couple of here. Coldplay, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, Ben Rector, James Arthur, Vance Joy, AC/DC, Sam Smith. Oh, there's just Lord Hutton on there. Hurton, sorry. A massive range. So if you're wanting to expand your musical horizons,
there's a
jump into the playlist.
Yeah.
There's a song. There is a song in there I was listening to this morning that I love. It's called Control. I said it before in the podcast. Great song. It's about losing control. And I really resonated with the lyrics of the song. And I love it. But what about podcasts? You said you can listen to podcasts when you're out on the tractor there. What's one that you could just throw out there and recommend for the dads? You're like, this is cool. I like this. Just share. Let's share the love.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't really. Nothing really springs to mind. I just do a lot of the normal mainstream, just easy listening ones, because sometimes, like I listen to a lot of books that are pretty heavy and full on.
So you listen to books?
I do a lot of them. So seven. What is the 7 Things of Highly Effective People. I reckon that's one of the books I've read, and that I got a lot out of that.
Right.
Seven Disciplines or something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
everyone better look that up. That's probably one thing I listened to, but I could only listen to that for so long, or else it just overwhelmed me and so much to learn and take in. Whereas so then I just listen to a mainstream, easy listening thing that's no. And that's sometimes a lot. I don't watch much TV, but when I do, I'd like to watch something that's not heavy and no one nothing, no one dies in it, and nothing bad goes wrong. Just something very easy for me to relax and listen to. So, sorry I can't give you a good one there.
That's all right.
Yeah, for the
No, that's all
podcast,
right.
but yeah.
But audio books, that's where you that's
Yeah,
where you're
yeah,
at.
yeah. I do a lot of them. Yeah, like and all the definitely all the ones that are inspiring. David Goggins is pretty interesting.
Right.
An interesting guy. He's just a real driven man, and
Okay.
yeah, he pretty much just says stop. And I guess that's part of why I did the book. You know, if you wait until you're ready, and you're probably never going to be ready, just do it. You know, he's had. I'm not. Don't get me wrong here, but he had the world record for chin ups. It's 4,000 or something in 24 hours. It's
Oh
crazy.
wow.
And he just like, oh well, just give it a go. He didn't get it the first time. I don't even think got it the second time, but he got it. He didn't spend 2 years or 10 years or training or anything getting up to it. He just did it.
See.
And
Got into it.
it just is no procrastination with him. And so I try to do that. I'm a very everyone that knows me will know I'm not patient. I don't like sitting around. It does my head in. I'd like to just right. What are we doing? Let's do it. And that's a good and bad thing for sure. I mean, I'd probably jump into too many things that and don't plan it out as much as I should. But
that's all right.
Yeah,
just live and learn a lot of the time, isn't it? Just
yeah,
no, that doesn't work. All right, let's try another way.
yeah. Not definitely not the right or wrong way to do it, but it's a way. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Can you give us 4 words that sum up your life as dad to Ziggy and your kids? Your other kids, and you're 5 now. Ziggy is the he's a big brother now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's very excited about that.
Yeah. So what would be 5 words? Sorry, 4 words. Sorry. That would.
Well, definitely the first one's lucky. Just lucky and privileged to be a father to my kids, and they're all very different. I've probably learned as much from my older son as I've taught him. I would suspect he's a pretty amazing man now. And whereas the girls need different stuff from me. My oldest daughter's very caring, and she won't like me saying, but she can be emotional, and whereas you can say one thing to her and it will mean another thing to another. The exact same thing to another one of my kids, and it'll mean a different thing. So, so definitely lucky, that's for sure, and privileged. They're the 2 ones that spring to mind. To be honest, I'm just just happy. It's just life's supposed to be happy and fun, isn't it? It's there's no plan, no end. Once you get here, you've achieved the game and it's over. And I think it's a journey, and you just have as much fun and enjoyment out of it as you can.
For real. Awesome, man. Thank you very much for those words.
No worries.
That's great. So this book again, because this book I cannot wait to get my hands on this book, and it's gonna I want to read it. I'm gonna read it to my kids, and then I'm actually we sometimes we go to their local school, our elementary school, and also the junior high.
Yeah.
And we actually read books in English. We read them to the class.
Oh, great.
And so my goal is to actually take the book over, and we can read whatever we want. And I'm going to take the book over. I'm going to read them this book because to these kids, these
Oh, that'd be great.
elementary school
Thank you.
and junior high kids, because I
Mm,
think it will. Um, it again, books can, as we know, right? They can have very profound effects and
mm,
sometimes make huge or sometimes even just small changes to people's lives when we read them. Um,
yeah,
and I know that because I've read a couple of books that have absolutely allowed me to kind of see things in a different way and
yeah,
um, attack things in a different way. And so they are very powerful.
mm,
Um, and they do it in such a great way, especially with picture books. And because the children are young, is they're able to kind of uh, mold and morph their kind of their ideas um, at an early age to kind of into kind of acceptance and just be like, okay,
yeah.
this is how it is.
I, I hope you really enjoyed the pictures. My good friend Lain Montgomerie, she's an artist and she painted them, and it would have been really difficult for her to portray. Obviously, didn't want Ziggy to look perfect, as in,
Yeah,
well, not perfect. That's the wrong word.
yeah,
As a completely able kid, we want to make him look like himself, really.
yeah.
And she's done such a great job of that. And I hope that all the kids when they read it, well, that's the feedback, and they just really love looking at the pictures of the sheep and the wool and the
Mm,
lambs and those kind of things. And
that's
and
awesome.
the pictures hopefully stimulate a few different conversations as well. Like there's a person in a wheelchair that's in one of the pictures, and yeah, so that there was two aims for the book. One was to enjoy it, like for children and adults, I suppose, but it's obviously a children's book, to enjoy it. But then the byproduct, if we could possibly stimulate a conversation about being different,
Mm,
and if it's been okay. At the back, we've got just a couple of little questions and a page for
that's
kids to
cool.
draw on to say, tell me why your family is different. Tell me why your friends are different. Tell me why you're different. And
Mm,
it may stimulate, or the idea was to hopefully stimulate people. Oh, yeah, actually, I've got a friend that's got glasses, and that's pretty cool. She looks really, really pretty with them. Or, I have another friend that's from a different country, and he's really different and eats different or food or to
yeah,
me or whatever. And that's okay. And hopefully that stimulated a little bit. If not, that's
great.
okay. But if people just enjoy it, that's fine with me too.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the illustrator's done a magnificent job. Yeah, hope you
Great.
enjoy that. Mm.
That is so cool. Can you show us the front of the book again? Actually, if you
Sure.
can pull
Yeah.
it up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There we
Yeah.
go. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So you got a few sheep here, and
There you go. There's the sheep
yeah,
on the front
and then
there.
Ziggy
That's
in the front
great.
there. So yeah.
There he is. Hey,
Yep.
so cool. So
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. Loving it.
Uh,
Brooke,
Thank you.
I'm so thrilled. And I actually am I'm still in awe that actually I managed to even get hold of you. I was like, how can I get hold of this guy? Like,
Not
and
a
I
big
got hold.
social media man, as you probably
No, no,
found out.
no, I realized that. I was like,
Yeah.
you were on. I'm not really on
Yeah.
Twitter, but I managed
Yeah.
to find you on Twitter. I was like, oh, there he
Yeah.
is. Like, okay.
It- It's amazing because I don't check Twitter either very often, but it was quite amazing that popped up on there, and must have been meant to be.
There it is. There it is. So, mate, thank you very much for sharing your story, your journey,
Yeah,
for
thank
you,
you.
and there'll be it's a great journey to hear through it all. Um, and yeah, thanks for taking the time to sit
No,
down
thank
and
you.
talk about it
Thank,
because
thanks for
it's
what you
great.
do.
You're welcome. Appreciate it, man. It's
No, no
so
worries.
good. It's really good. Okay, I'm gonna just oh, okay, we'll just